Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 6.
Well, here's something you don't see every day. Harvest season and planting season are taking place at the same time for many in the Valley. Valley News Team's Courtney Lockie explains the process for farmers as they roll the dice, hoping to avoid another year like the last.
Crops still stand in fields across the valley thanks to last year's debacle with Mother Nature. Several farmers are working to get stalks out of the ground so they can get in the field to plant.
We harvested a couple hundred acres of our corn in March this year. I don't really care to ever do that again, so we're happy to get it off in the fall when it should be harvested.
Even with an ideal spring, farmers were going to start behind, and conditions in North Dakota have been anything but. For Kevin Skunes, he was able to start planting Monday, but today will be his last, only planting 40% of their intended corn. For others, it was even less.
We just don't feel the risk planting later is worth the yield loss that we're going to get from planting this late.
They've also got about 40 acres left standing from last year that won't be harvested. Farmers are doing what they can, but Skunes says many will have to take preventive plant insurance.
For those acres, we won't buy any inputs from our local elevators. We won't buy as much fuel, so it's going to hurt the whole community if a lot of farmers have to do a lot of prevent plant.
Seasonal challenges grow deeper for farmers amidst the pandemic. It's pushing down commodity prices. Skunes says it may lower the price tag for shoppers, but farmers will take a cut. In a lifetime of farming, Skunes has learned some things are out of his hands. But whatever comes next, they'll do as farmers do, adapt and keep moving forward. In Arthur, North Dakota, Courtney Lockie, Valley News Live.
One more thing, Skunes says it's important farmers know they're not alone in these difficult times. He says never to be afraid to reach out for help. Well, the sun found its way through the clouds here and there today throughout the valley. Let's get the latest on the first alert forecast from meteorologist Justin Fanfarelli.
And thank you, Beth, and good evening, everybody. Let's take a look at what we're seeing right now in terms of where the clouds are and where the rain are. First off, we do have partly cloudy to mostly cloudy skies across the region. Best chance of some sunshine as you make your way from Fargo off to the west. Now, we do have some showers and thunderstorms. Most of them are staying west of the viewing area, just off to the west of Towner County right now. Some of the storms could be strong, could move into Tower County, could move into portions of the region just off to the west of Devil's Lake. Otherwise, most of the weather is well off to our south, well off to our west. Western North Dakota is in a slight risk of severe weather, but in our viewing area, it looks like we are just in either a general thunderstorm risk or no thunderstorm risk. We'll keep our eyes on this one as we go through the evening. Temperatures around the region ranging from the mid-60s out toward Wadena to near 80 in Devil's Lake and Jamestown. We're going to stay mainly dry until tomorrow morning for most of us, partly to mostly cloudy skies as temperatures fall back through the 70s into the 60s. We'll have your full 7-day forecast and tell you what to expect for Memorial Day. That's coming up later in the newscast.
All right, thanks so much, Justin. Well, the state of North Dakota is announcing another 49 positive cases of the coronavirus, 46 of those from Cass County, bringing the active case rate in the state to 862. 39 North Dakotans are in the hospital with the virus. There were no new deaths reported today. The state's death total linked to the virus remains at 52. Overall, another 2,400 tests were completed, and the daily positive rate is at 2%. The state of Minnesota announced 847 new positive cases of COVID-19 today, a record for the most lab-confirmed positive cases in a single day. There are also another 10 deaths reported, bringing the state's total to 852. Over 13,000 people are listed as no longer needing isolation, which brings the active case total to 5,508. 568 patients are in the hospital, with 215 in the ICU. People lined up to be tested for COVID-19 in Moorhead as the state of Minnesota is offering free testing at 6 locations this weekend, starting today through Monday. You can go to the National Guard Armory to get tested from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Guard members have the capacity to collect about 2,000 samples per day across the 6 testing sites for a total of about 6,000 tests over the 3-day weekend. Governor Tim Walz says testing, tracing, and isolating are the best tools we have to understand the impact of the pandemic on our communities. Governor Walz issued an executive order today with the state's guidance based on what the Centers for Disease Control put out in regards to places of worship. The state guidelines, developed with faith leaders across the state, say starting Wednesday, May 27th, places of worship, funeral homes, and other venues with space to hold weddings, funerals, or other planned services can open if they adhere to social distancing and other public health guidelines, including minimum 6 feet of distance between households. Indoor venues cannot exceed 25% capacity. Outdoor venues have a maximum of 250 in a self-contained space, and a preparedness plan must be in place. At a press conference today, Walz noted this next step will again increase the chance for spreading the virus.
I am under no illusion whatsoever. Every move we make that loosens up increases the risk. And the job I have to figure out, along with the folks advising me and the people doing it, and in this case, the faith leaders, of how do we minimize that as much as possible.
Walz also strongly encouraged folks in the more vulnerable population to be cautious if they choose to attend any services or gatherings. To see the complete executive order, you can find this story on our VNL News app. And the Minnesota Department of Health says a graduation ceremony that went against state guidelines may have spread COVID-19. According to the department, someone who helped with setup of the event was in close contact with staff members who later handed diplomas to graduates. The department did not disclose the school or if it was for older or younger students. Today, Governor Walz said contact tracing is underway for individuals who may have been affected. And they feed, shelter, and support people across the country. Now, local nonprofits could be receiving federal support during the coronavirus pandemic. Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar recently introduced the Work Now Act to help nonprofit organizations meet the increase in service demand. Senator Klobuchar said the legislation would provide grants to help charitable organizations keep the doors open and provide opportunities for men and women to return to work.
And the idea is that we have nonprofits that are different in every area. Some, we have Habitat for Humanity that's building houses, other Catholic charities or Lutheran social services. And we have strong support from major nonprofits across the country to make sure that at this time of the pandemic that they don't go under.
The problem would be administered by the Treasury Department. Currently, the bill is only backed by Democrats. Grand Forks County sheriffs have arrested this man, 29-year-old Reed Middleton, after he fled from a traffic stop within Grand Forks city limits. Deputies located Middleton in the vehicle, tried to stop him, and he fled again towards Emirado, where Emirado police successfully deployed spike strips just east of town. The pursuit continued into Trail County, and the vehicle came to a stop on the road west of Buxton. Middleton has been cited with misdemeanor fleeing, felony reckless endangerment, and a misdemeanor for driving under revocation. Memorial Day weekend is a time for many to honor and remember military personnel that paid the ultimate sacrifice serving our country. A group of people spent today not only taking a moment to remember those lost, but to raise awareness for veteran PTSD and suicide. Valley News Team's Katie Opperly follows along as they march 100 miles.
Brady Oberg, he is a rural Minnesota kid that went in the Army, spent a year in Afghanistan, came back, and then ended up taking his own life on August 6, 2015.
So now they march 100 miles in 33 hours. That's the goal set out for the third annual Brady's Border to Border Ruck March.
In conjunction to support Brady Oberg Legacy Foundation, we're out there to try and raise awareness to veteran PTSD and veteran suicide.
People come together and march to honor those like Brady and to support others that serve our country.
The Brady Oberg Legacy Foundation was formed in November of 2015 by Brady's wife and his sister to try and bring awareness to veteran PTSD because there were signs that they didn't see. So they don't want any family to go through what they did.
Although the march had to be scaled back this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the mission remains the same.
If there's anybody out there that's struggling with PTSD, that they understand that it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. It's actually a sign of strength. And especially with Memorial Day weekend, we're spending significant time honoring those heroes that paid the ultimate sacrifice for us, for our way of life, sacrificing something for a bigger cause.
100 miles later, the group ended at the Veterans Memorial Bridge. The whole
idea of rucking and of what we've done today and what the guys have done today is when it hurts, you keep going. You know, walking with the guys, they're hurting, they're cramping, their feet are tearing up. They put on 30 miles on their body that they're not used to doing.
But they took it one step at a time, hoping to inspire others to keep going, even in the toughest of times. In Moorhead, Katie Offerly, Valley News Live.
To learn more about the Brady Oberg Legacy Foundation or to gain access to resources offered to those in need, head over to the VNL News app. Well, later on Valley News Live at 6, the Minnesota State Fair is the next cancellation in the ever-growing list of summer activities being cut. What vendors have to say about this major moneymaker being canceled.
And temperatures in the region mainly into the 70s today. We got a lot of 70s on the 7-day forecast, maybe some 80s. We'll have the full details coming up next.